Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're just going to make over some books into pumpkins. And I know I've made one of these before, but I had several that I thrifted. And I thrifted them with the purpose of turning them into pumpkins because I bought ones that were thicker, so that they were thick enough to stand alone. And so this is one of them. This is a very old book, and I love how grungy the pages are. And as you could see, the book is actually coming apart in places, but that isn't a problem at all because I'm just going to glue that down with hot glue, and I think this will make a good little pumpkin. And because it's already green, I can just kind of haphazardly paint it, and I'm just kind of adding some different shades of green and adding a little white for highlight, and I don't have to completely cover this at all. And then here I'm adding a little bit of yellow just so that it adds a different shade to that green. And like I said, other than making sure that the words are covered well, you don't have to be careful in painting this. Just kind of really just slap some paint on there. And I don't even worry with sealing the chalk paint like I usually do, because this is just a book and it's just going to be sitting on a shelf, so I don't feel like it's going to need to be sealed. And now I'm taking a short piece of fabric, and any kind of fabric you want to use here, because what I'm doing is just kind of gluing this book closed. So I just put some glue on the inside page and then the outside page and glue that together. And now I'm taking just a little piece of stick and gluing it to the top for the stem. So it doesn't really look like a pumpkin right now, but we're going to add some embellishment and make it look like more like a pumpkin. So I've just tied some pieces of ripped fabric together. Now, I haven't done anything special with this bow. Just like I said, took a few strips of fabric and tied them together with some jute twine. And now I'm just gluing that on, and then I'll add some leaves, and that'll make it look a little bit more like a pumpkin. We don't have to have it look exactly like a pumpkin. We just want to mimic the look of a pumpkin. And I think that's really what primitive decor is about, just kind of mimicking the look of something. And now I'm just hanging one of my hang tags on here, and I'm not going to be doing the hang tags on this video, but I do have a video that I'll attach where I made several hang tags. So now this is another book, some sort of encyclopedia, and I'm going to do this one in more orange. So when I do an orange pumpkin, I don't just paint it orange. I paint it with different shades. And just like I did with the green pumpkin, this one is going to be mostly orange, but I like to have a little bit of green in my orange pumpkins. And so I'm just a haphazard coat, and that will be enough to cover this. I kind of like to leave it to where it's very obvious that it's a book, and it will be because we're not doing anything around the pages, because I just like that look. And again, I'm taking just a little strip of fabric and gluing it to the front and then gluing it to the back. And yes, I am doing this while my book is not completely dry, but generally what I would do would be paint several books and let those dry, and then go back and do the second step. But I kind of wanted to keep this video in order so that I would have time to post an additional video, and in order to do that, I had to work with some wet books. And I can always, especially since this is very haphazardly painted, I can always go back and touch up where I leave handprints and don't catch that. And what's tricky in doing this is making sure that I don't get paint on the the ribbon here at the top. So what I do is just kind of let that dry before I do my final picture. That way I can keep that fabric off the wet pumpkin. So just tie this little tag at the top, and that'll just add the finishing touch. And I think that adding that little pumpkin stamp or a leaf stamp really adds a lot to these hang tags. And the leaves I use on top are obviously not pumpkin leaves, but I don't really think you have to have leaves that are shaped like a pumpkin leaf. I think you just need to have leaves on the top. Now this one I'm doing in mostly white, mostly buttercream in this case, but I dried my paintbrush off somewhat, but didn't wash it because I like those other shades in with my white. So again, just a haphazard paint job here, and then glue my book closed and put on a stem. And that's the same technique obviously that I'm using on all these, except that not all of the books that I'll be doing today will be painted. Some will be decoupaged. So just to kind of give them a different look. So again, I put the leaves on here, tied some fabric around the top, and a hang tag, and then this one is complete. And if you watch me long, you know I love neutrals, so this lighter colored pumpkin is something that would go better with my decor. Now for the next pumpkin, I'm going to be doing some decoupage. And this is another one of those encyclopedias, and I'm going to be decoupaging music, an old music sheet over the top of this one. And the music sheet is not the easiest to decoupage with, but for these pumpkins, they don't have to be perfect. I guess you could see in what I've done so far that it doesn't have to be perfect. So I can just kind of piece this on here, and whatever doesn't look perfect, I feel like just adds to the look. So if you want to decoupage something that's easier than an old crumbly music sheet is probably not the best for you, but I think it's worth the extra effort because I really like the look that I get from this one when it's finished. And again, because it's neutral, I like it even more. And for me, if you see it, just a little bit of that book around the corner there, like you see there, it doesn't bother me at all, because as long as there's a color underneath it that has a fall look, I just feel like, again, that just kind of adds to it. So just cover it haphazardly here and make sure that it's all glued down well, and then we can go back and trim the excess. And I always, when I'm doing decoupage, when it dries, I always go back with some sandpaper and clean up those edges. And that not only cuts away the excess paper, but it neatens up those edges. And maybe this music sheet here doesn't look so much like a pumpkin, but once we get the whole thing put together, it all comes together and looks a lot more like a pumpkin. But I just really like the look of it. And I think that if you took several of these book pumpkins in different sizes and displayed them together, it would make a really pretty display. So again, when this dried, I go back with some sandpaper and clean it up and glue my book closed, and then embellish the top. So I add my stem to the top, and then I decide on this one that I want to add just a little bit of moss. So I just glue some of the moss that I get from the Dollar Tree around the top, and just to add a little bit more to this one, because I felt like this one needed a little extra embellishment, just because I wanted to make sure and make this look more like a pumpkin. So there, you could add some vine hanging down off this if you wanted, but I'm just going to use some raffia grass and tie that around the top, and I'm going to be making a bow with that, but I'll wait to do that until I get my other embellishment over the top so that it doesn't get in my way. So here I'm gluing some of those same leaves on here, and then I'll tie the bow in the raffia grass and add a hang tag, and this one will be complete. Now, I really like how the raffia grass looks here with this paper. And I know that some of you aren't ready for fall yet, and I understand that completely. Before I started selling in a store, I didn't want to think about fall early either, and maybe I still don't want to, but I have to now. So I have to get these crafts out, and the only way I can get videos out is to do the videos of the fall crafts that I'm doing. Now, I really like this one because I found some, well, I didn't find some fall napkins, but a friend of mine, Frankie, brought me several napkins, and this was one of them, and I just really like the look of this napkin. As you can see in the middle, I tore it when I was taking those extra plies off of it, but it doesn't matter at all because again, this is kind of a haphazard look, and it doesn't affect the look of the pumpkin at all. It still decoupages really pretty on there. So again, I'm taking that little strip of fabric and gluing this one closed. And I love that you can see my haphazard paint job here. I didn't mention that some of these books that I decoupaged, I've painted one coat of white on them first. So I love that you can see where the book wasn't covered completely, because I feel like that just adds more dimension and color. And here I'm tying my hang tag on before I do my embellishment, and I learned that really works better. So after today, I will be doing this instead. But I'm just kind of tying that hang tag on, and then I'm adding different leaves here. And I know these are just fall tree leaves, and obviously they're not real. But what I'm saying is that they're not pumpkin leaves, but that doesn't matter because they match the leaves on my pumpkin. So I really like the look that I get out of these. I love the look of fall leaves, but I don't like to buy the ones that are red or yellow or orange. I like that these look more natural. I didn't bother tying any raffia grass or ripped fabric on this one because I felt like this one was busy enough. But I like the look of that one. And then the next one that I'll be doing is also going to be a decoupaged one, and I'm decoupaging another napkin that I got from my friend Frankie. And this one is limited to Thanksgiving, but I like that it had some faith on there, and so I'm going to be using that one, and it's not large enough to cover the front of the book, so I just have to do some piecing, and the patterns, there's no way of matching those patterns up, so I just cover it with another part of the napkin. But I do like that the Thanksgiving fit perfectly on the spine, so that worked out really well. But just clean this one up with some sandpaper, and then add my cloth to close the book, and my stem, and then my embellishments. And I may go back later with this one and age those pages, because I do think that that makes a big difference. And this one was a newer book, obviously. And so it didn't have the look in the pages that I usually like. And the way I age pages is I just take some very strong coffee and just kind of paint that very strong coffee on the pages with a paintbrush, and it does a really nice job of aging the pages. And once it dries, if it's not dark enough, then you can go back with another coat and keep adding until you get the shade that you want. And again, I'm not tying any fabric on this one, just the hang tag. And then for my next one, and I think this will be the last one, I'm gonna do the book in a little different way. So instead of having the book stand upright, I'm gonna let it be long and short. So the spine of the book will be at the top, and then so I'm decoupaging on this one with a napkin that is new at Target this year. And it has such a good feel. This napkin has a really good feel to it. It's not the easiest to separate the layers, but it has a really good feel to it. And I really like this pattern. It's kind of a cross between gold and tan, but it's just a really pretty look. And so I decoupaged on that, and then my stem is going to be added to the top. And when I glue this one closed, I don't glue it very tightly closed, so that it has a little bit, it can spread somewhat on the bottom just to make sure that it stands up well. It's a thick enough book that it probably would anyway, but I just don't make sure that it's really tight or really tightly closed. And now I'm adding a little different leaf on this one because I like the look of these leaves with this napkin. I know that some of you are having trouble finding napkins, and I will say that occasionally Target will have a pretty napkin, and Marshall's usually has pretty napkins. They don't have a whole lot, but they usually do have them. Party City has them, a pretty good selection, I think, and then Amazon. But now on Amazon, you have to be really careful when you're ordering napkins, because you want to make sure that you're ordering a whole pack, because sometimes you'll only get 1 or 2 napkins, and then I don't know, I feel like they get you there. So just be careful ordering those. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.